Now, the next part of the program is to support the practice. To start that section of the program, we will once again worship the Blessed One. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, to start the second part of the program, as I mentioned, we support the practice in 5 ways. The 5 ways in which we support the practice is with the virtuous factor or virtuous supportive factor, listening supportive factor, discussion supportive factor, tranquility supportive factor, and wisdom supportive factor. Of these 5 factors, this part of the program is focusing on the second and the third, which is listening supportive factor and the discussion supportive factor. By doing that, what we achieve is we will be able to gain more knowledge on the practice. And with that more knowledge, when you practice, whatever experiences you get, you will be able to relate that it is Buddha's words, that it is Buddha's path. And in addition to that, you will be able to confirm yourself that your own practice is going as per explained. And you may be able to clear your doubts. You may be able to straighten your viewpoint on certain aspects of your living and the practice. And more importantly, you will have some sort of an entertainment by listening to Buddha's word. This entertainment has gone to such an extent that nowadays people don't practice, but they just keep listening as if they are listening to a song. So much so that entertainment has taken the lead, and the other advantages of listening supportive factor has gone down the drain. Anyway, for we being practitioners, we have selected a discourse that the Blessed One has recommended as the manual or the handbook for those who practice mindfulness. And that discourse is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. As we know, in the previous sessions, we have discussed that this was preached to a group of people who have trying various methods to purify themselves, to gain wisdom, or to attain nibbana. And to that group, Blessed One goes and says, there is only one way. And that one way, or the only way, is 4 foundations of mindfulness. Now, these 4 foundations of mindfulness, in our previous sessions, we have discussed the first one. The first one is mindfulness of the body, or the mindfulness of the matter. So we don't call it mindfulness of the matter in the sutta, we call it mindfulness of the body. And Blessed One has given 14 ways in which we can be mindful of the body. And if I summarize those 14 ways, Blessed One has started with the start of life. The start of life happens when we conceive in the mother's womb with the first breath. And from that breath, which we are taking even today, and he's explaining the transition or the transformation of our body until such time the life leaves the body and the body falls on the ground and everything in our body turns to dust. And he has taken that entire range and explain 14 ways in which we can be mindful of the body. And if I signpost a few of those, he is starting with the life, which is the breath, and then he's explaining us how to be mindful in our postures. He's explaining us to how to continue that mindfulness in sub postures, and then he's explaining us how to be mindful of the basic elements with which our body is made of, and then he's explaining how to be mindful of the foulness of the body, impurities of the body, and then he is giving 9 stages in which our body gets decomposed after the death, right? So that is the summary. And this is very important. What is very important? The observation of the body. All these 14 methods of observation of the body is not necessary. If you have just one method, mainly the most important and the most widely practiced method is the observation of the respiration, which even we do here, and that alone will do. And if someone is not doing that, you can take postures or you can take sub postures, and there are other ways you can be mindful of the body, but one is enough. All the 14 methods are not necessary. However, one or the other form, we have got to observe the body. We have got to be mindful of the body. When you become mindful of the body, that becomes the gateway or the path to our next section. So the next section is the mindfulness of the sensation. So we will see how this observation of the body leads or relates to the mindful of sensation. So to start our next section, can I kindly request Chatuputan, and I'm not quite sure whether you have already opened that up, to read that section.
Okay. And how bhikkhus does a bhikkhu abide contemplating feelings as feelings? Here, when feeling a pleasant feeling, a bhikkhu understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. When feeling a painful feeling, he understands, I feel a painful feeling. When feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When feeling a worldly pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly pleasant feeling. When feeling an unworldly pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly pleasant feeling. When feeling a worldly painful feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly painful feeling. When feeling an unworldly painful feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly painful feeling. When feeling a worldly neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a worldly neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When feeling an unworldly neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel an unworldly neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Should I do the next bit?
No, we will stop there. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so that is the Buddha's word of how you can be mindful of the feeling. The word, the translation that is used there is feeling, and another common term that is used is sensations, right? Okay, so by today's talk, what I'm planning to do is to give you a basic introduction to this section. This section is the shortest section in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but it is the most important, or I would say very, very important section of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. If you are clever, if you are good, if you are determined well in this section, this will directly turn you into wisdom. Being painful, being mindful of the feelings or the sensation will directly turn you into wisdom, and Nibbana is at your hand. Right. So having said that, I'm going to give an introduction to this today. And then possibly we will take another 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 sessions to go through the whole thing or explain the whole thing. So in the introduction, as I mentioned at the beginning, the observation of the body is very significant in observing or in being mindful of the sensation. How does this happen? We know what we do is when we are mindful, we say observation of here, now, I am is mindfulness, right? So when you take observation of here, now, I am is mindfulness, we know I am or an animal or a living being means a being that has a physical process, that has a mental process, and that has an interconnection between the two. So that is the basic definition of an animal or basic definition of any living being. Any living being will have physical process, mental process, and the interconnection of the two. And this living being will have only just one prime purpose in their life. That prime purpose in their life is being happy. To be happy, what we do is we try to give as much material as possible to our body. Whereas happiness is a state of the mind. Pleasure is a state of the mind. It's a mind thing, not a bodily thing, not a matter thing, right? But we don't clearly see that. We have no clue of what the mind and how the mind is. So what we simply do is we are engrossed, we are entangled with matter. Let me put it this way. When I say matter, I refer to this body. So for us to be happy, what we do is we give as many things as possible to our 5 basic sense field. I'm mentioning 5 here, not the 6th one, sense field. To the eye, we give as much forms as possible. To the ears, we give as much sounds as possible. To the nose, we give as better odors as possible. To the tongue, we give as much pleasurable taste as possible, and so on. To the body, we give as much comfort as possible. So what we do is we give matter to matter and try to seek happiness, try to seek pleasure. It never ends because it's a mind thing, right? So what the Blessed One says is, tell the practitioners, tell the disciples, tell the followers, hang on, stop what you are doing, you go to a forest. If you can't go to a forest, you go under a tree. If you can't go under a tree, you take an empty place in your own place, empty heart, and then stop all these things. And after stopping all these things, bring your attention to the matter, to the physical process, which is seeking this pleasure, which is seeking this happiness, right? So we stop all that, we sit cross-legged and keep our palms on the lap and close our eyes. So all the sense fields as much as possible we have covered or completed or closed. And when you bring our attention to the body, or we do that even in walking, but with less controlled variables, when we do that, what we start seeing, what we start observing, when you observe details of whatever the practice you are doing, either sitting or walking, you start seeing these basic elements. What are the basic elements of the body? The basic elements of the body are earth element, water element, air element, and the heat element, right? So these four elements are having certain characteristics. Earth element is having heaviness and the lightness. It has roughness and softness. And air element is having its holding ability and the moving ability. And the water element is having cohesive ability and the floating ability. And the heat element is having, on one hand it is warm and on the other it is cold. So these are the two sides of the coin. For each of these elements are having two extremes, right? So you start seeing these elements by observing these qualities of the elements, right? Say for example, when you observe, you may feel when you lift the leg, right? You feel heaviness on the leg on which you are standing, and you see the lightness on the leg that you are lifting. Or when you place the leg, you may feel the coldness of the floor, or when you lift the leg, you may feel that coldness is gone and it turns into warm. Or when you place the leg, you may feel the hardness of the floor, and when you lift it, you feel that hardness is gone and a softness is appearing in its place. So in that manner, you start seeing the qualities of these basic elements. Similarly, when you sit and practice, you may be observing the your bottom is contacting the cushion or the floor on which you are sitting, and it may be giving some sensation, some heat or some hardness. Or if you observe the breath, you may be able to see the, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Battery is dying. I'll turn on the. Sorry about that. Okay. When you observe the breath, you may be able to observe the cool air going in and warm air coming out, right? Or if when you keep on observing that, and with your breath, if your mind is gradually going into the body, and some people may be able to, because the mind is going into the body, as we have explained or as we have discussed in the respiration section, the mind gradually goes inside your body when you keep on observing, because the breath that you observe, initially it will be longer and gradually it will start getting shorter and getting subtler, and then it goes to the subtler state. When that happens, the breath becomes subtler, but your mind's attention becomes sharper. So when the mind attention becomes sharper to the subtle breath, which is going into your body, your attention to the body becomes more and more prominent. So you start feeling more of the body, right? So when you start feeling more of the body, some people may feel that the body is so hard, so rough. Some people may feel that like a feather, it is so soft, so soothing. And some people may experience the warmth of the body. Some people may experience perspiration on the body. Some people may experience coolness on the body. And many facets of the body or the qualities of the elements will come into picture. And if you still keep on observing, even these qualities may disappear. You may start observing something different, like ants crawling in your body altogether, or atoms of the body are vibrating, or the entire body is having like moving worms, or you may feel a lot of electric shocks like things in your body, because you get more and more closer to the body, and the body's physical mental phenomena that is taking place may manifest. So you may feel that in one or the other form. So all these things that you experience are the qualities of the four basic elements I just mentioned. So these four basic elements are available not only in our body, they are available on the cushion that you are sitting on or the chair that you are sitting on. They are available in the house that you are living in. They are available outside the house in the trees as well. Those four basic elements and their qualities are there even in a dead body. Right? So this basic, therefore, what I want to simply tell is these qualities of the basic elements have got nothing to nothing to hide. They are there everywhere. But what happens is when these basic qualities appear, some doesn't like hardness, they like softness. Some doesn't like coolness, they like warmth. Some doesn't like warmth, they like coolness. Some doesn't like feeling grinding like, feeling burning like. They need sensation without burning. They want floating sensation. So what happens is for these four basic elements or their qualities, we start generating what you call liking and disliking. We start generating preferences and prejudices, right? That is when the sensation starts, right? That is why I said at the very beginning, the observation of the body is very important to understand sensation. The observation of the body is the gateway to the mind. And the sensation is the key that opens that gate. Right? So you have the four basic elements, you have the qualities of the four basic elements, and as soon as you generate some preference, as soon as you generate some love, as soon as you start asking more and more of what you like, then only the sensation starts. And if you start hating, if you start disliking, if you start prejudice on that, then another sensation starts. So the simple factor that you will have to understand in sensation is it is not something that is created by the qualities of the four basic elements. It is created by the mind. The dead body cannot create that. A tree cannot create that. Our house cannot create it. Our cushion cannot create it. But when it is happening in our body, our mind is creating that, the sensation. So this sensation which happens in this manner, when Chatu was explaining it, he was mentioning few types of sensations. The one he mentioned was pleasant sensations or pleasant feelings, and the other is unpleasant feelings, or you call it sensation as well. The other one is neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So these are three types of sensations that the Blessed One has explained in this discourse or in this section. And these three sensations, the Blessed One is putting into two groups, two categories. One is the worldly category and the other is non-worldly category. One is worldly category is called mundane category, and the other one is called noble or sublime category, right? So I'm not going to go into detail on this, but there is one important sutta on the categorization of sensation. It is very important for us to know because it is some issue, some problem that most of us have when we discuss Dhamma. That is, there is a discussion or there is a sutta called a discourse called Panchakanga Sutta in connected discourses, right? In Panchakanga, Panchakanga means it's a name of a person, and that person is a carpenter. He's a follower of the Buddha, and one of his close friend is a monk called Udai. So these two disciples of the Buddha seem to be having some discussion. So one day, Panchakanga the carpenter tells Venerable Udai, Venerable Sir, the Blessed One has explained only two types of feelings, two types of sensations. And Venerable Udai says, no, Blessed One has explained three. Panchakanga says once again, no, Blessed One has explained only two. Then Venerable Udai says for the second time, no, Panchakanga, he has explained three. And Panchakanga never gives up. He says no two. Venerable Udai says no three. And after that, Panchakanga keeps arguing. Venerable Udai stops. He doesn't argue after that. He has said for the third time, doesn't accept. He stops. This conversation falls on the ears of Venerable Ananda, who has been doing something possibly around. And then he reports this to the Blessed One. The Blessed One says, Ananda, go and tell these people, this Dhamma is mine. In some places, I have explained it as two. In some places, I have explained it as three. Some places it is 5. In some places it is 6. Some places it is 18. Some places it is 36. Some places it is 108. I explain these things to the person I meet, depending on his state of mind, depending on how his practice is. Ask those people to go and practice and keep their mouth shut about talking about instead of quarreling about Dhamma. So why I mentioned that was, this is something that happened in our Dhamma discussions as well. One says one thing and the other says another thing. We don't give up what we think is right, whereas Blessed One has given completely different way of looking at things. We can't say that this is 100% correct. This is 100% wrong. Blessed One has explained the same thing in thousands and thousands of ways. That is why we have 84,000 Buddha's teachings available today, recorded teaching, right? And in all these things, what he says is how to be mindful and how to attain Nibbana. So therefore, some people will say, there is no need to observe breath. There is no need to observe sensation. You just go and listen to Dhamma, then you will be able to enlighten. There are people like that. And some people say, there is no need to observe breath. There is no need to observe sensation. You observe your thoughts. Then when your thoughts are over, then you will attain Nibbana, right? Blessed One has said those things. Not that he has not mentioned. But we must have come to that stage so that you will be able to attain Nibbana listening to a Dhamma talk. You will be able to attain Nibbana by observing thoughts, if you have come to that stage, right? If you have really tuned the guitar, no need to play it. Even if you just whistle it. If a good blowing goes on the strings, it will start giving the nice music. So it depends on how well you are tuned. No need to quarrel about the Dhamma. So it's not about sensation. I just brought that up here because it's a problem that we usually have in our Dhamma discussion. So these type of sensations, or the sensations that we just understood are very important in understanding Dhamma. So one reason is, which we have already discussed, that is, it is having the key to open the gate of the mind. Sensations is opening the gate of the mind. So to that extent, it is very important. Then only you can talk about pleasure, because living beings or animals or human beings are seeking pleasure. In order to seek pleasure, we should understand the mind. We should go to the mind. So we have now the key to open that gate, right? So that we have just understood. And there is another very important significance in understanding sensation or the feeling. And that important thing is in the dependent origination. Hope you have heard of dependent origination. There are 12 aspects to it. I'm not going to explain all the 12 aspects in detail, the 12 points in detail, but I will just run through to give you an understanding of how it happens. The first one is, we know dependent origination is starting with ignorance. Not that it always starts with ignorance, it can start anywhere, but the Blessed One has explained it starting point as the ignorance, right? So this ignorance is a condition for choice. In other words, this is the cause and effect relationship that the Blessed One is explaining. That is Blessed One science. So Blessed One says ignorance is a condition for choice, or the reason for choice, or the choice is a condition for consciousness, and the consciousness is a condition for name and form. The name and form are conditions for the six sense fields, and the six sense fields or the faculties are the conditions for contact. Contact is a condition for feeling or the sensation. That is where we are. And feelings and sensation is a condition for craving. That is what we are going to eradicate. By eradicating craving, then we will be able to, if you depreciate your craving, you are happy, right? So that is the juncture we are discussing now. And it goes on and it says, craving is a condition for grasping. Grasping is a condition for existence. Existence is a condition for rebirth. Rebirth is a condition for old age. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, distress, in summary, suffering. Right? So these are the 12 points: dependent origination or the cause and effect relationship. So the Blessed One in this sensation, he is touching the 2 points, the 2 conditions that I just posed. The 2 conditions I posed is, 2 conditions I posed are, contact is a condition for feeling or the sensation. Feeling is a condition for craving. This is what the Blessed One is touching now. Right? How is he touching? He says, observe the body, observe the lower part of the body. So when we observe the lower part of the body, we observe the contact of the sole of the foot with the floor. Contact. When we observe the breath, if you observe at the nostril, you observe the contact of the air column coming into your nose, into your body and going out. If you observe the tummy, you observe the contact of the air is having to the tummy going up or down. So the Blessed One is, without our knowledge, touching quietly a point in the dependent origination. Right? So what he says is, observe that contact. When you observe that contact, you will feel sensation. If it is cool, you may be feeling so soothing. If it is rough, gross, then you may not like it. right? So, which means that feeling, that sensation is creating generally, naturally craving. It is creating craving. It is creating liking and disliking. But what the Blessed One says is, you observe it. Observe means when you observe something, you write what you see. You note what you see. You note shapes and forms of the thing that you see. If you see that you like something, you note that as well, right? So therefore, here, gradually, Blessed One is introducing a concept of not craving, reversing craving. He has not come to that, but he is gradually taking us there. That is why, even without telling us, he wanted us to observe the breath, observe the body. So he's bringing our attention to the point, to the condition that leads to sensation. So once we are mastering, once we are very conversed with this contacting that is taking place within our physical process, then we are ready to touch, then we are ready to handle the feeling and sensation, right? So then when we are ready to touch feelings and sensation, then he says, you will have these three types of sensation, and these three types will be in two different groups. You will observe, and we will come to that in the next session. So this is what I want to say is, this is another significant reason why discussion of sensation is important in our Dhamma practice, especially those who practice mindfulness. And in the introduction, I also want to take another point, another significant aspect in observing or in discussing sensations or the feeling is in another discourse which we most of us know. The name of the discourse is Kim Mulaka Sutta, Kim Mulaka discourse. Kim Mulaka means what is the main cause, the proximate cause of anything, right? And there are, I think, 8. It is in numerical discourses and in 8th section, and there are 8 items, different items that becomes the proximate cause for certain things is discussed. And in that sutta, the Blessed One says, Vedana samo sarana sabbe dhamma, which means all phenomena relies on feelings. There is no natural phenomena that takes place within our physical mental process without relying on feelings. Anything that happens within us gets communicated to you through a feeling. So therefore he says, any phenomena have got to rely on feeling, have got to have the support of feeling. Then only you know it. Right? So because of this reason, discussion of sensation is very important, right? So when you practice, when you have pleasant sensation, the Blessed One what he recommends is you don't hide them. Blessed One says, when you have pleasant sensation, you don't hide them, and you don't love them as well, and you don't expect them as well. If you have a pleasant sensation, you should be aware of it. You should talk about it. You should tell that. That is what you call observation of pleasant sensation. But most of the time, what happens is, if the practice is going smoothly, if the practice is going well, very cool, smiley face, don't talk, all fine, you don't, everything is fine and you have achieved, right? But if it is not going well, then only you complain. Then only you say, I don't like what is happening now. Then only you talk. When the pleasant sensation is there, you don't utter about it because you like it. You just keep hidden. But if it is changing a little bit, if it is going the other way around, then you start complaining and you start hating them. You become afraid whether my practice is going wrong or whether I'm doing the right thing, and all complaints come after that. And another thing that the Blessed One wants to tell us is, don't compare any of this, whether it's pleasant or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. You don't compare it, just observe, right? So those are the simple advices at this stage, and should treat as an important juncture for wisdom, because when you have a sensation, you have a very good chance not to make it a craving. Feeling is a condition for craving. If you observe the feeling as feeling without either liking it or disliking, then it does not turn into craving. You accept that burning sensation in your knee. You accept that burning sensation in your bottom. You accept that scraping sensation in your back as it is. You accept that horrible heavy head as a sensation. You get as close as possible and keep on accepting, because that is you now. So what you simply do is you accept you. If you don't accept you, should someone else come from Mars or Sun and to accept it? No. Here, now I am. You accept, here now I am. It is not what I want, but that is what you have. And when you accept what you have, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, any unpleasant situation you can make pleasant. Any pleasant situation becomes more pleasant. Because by knowing it, by accepting it, you just bring it to surface. And when you bring it to surface, what you simply say is, no, just because you are good, I don't want to accumulate you. This is what I have. And when it is unpleasant, no, I'm not complaining about you. I'm even accepting that for both of you, I have a balanced mind. I have an equipoised mind. And that is the meaning of Sama Hita. Sama means balanced. Hita means mind. So that's the name of our group. So therefore, it becomes a juncture for reducing craving, and therefore, you may take a U-turn now in this dependent origination. Dependent origination will not continue. You take a U-turn, and instead of feeling becomes craving, feeling may turn into wisdom. You have that potential, and should treat as an important juncture for reaching the mind. Now, if you can handle the feelings in this manner, the entire nature of mind will come into surface, which we are going to discuss in the next section, right? So just imagine the pleasant feelings the Blessed One may have had after attaining. He has achieved this without a teacher on his own. So much of pleasant feelings he may have had. He never discusses those pleasant feelings. He doesn't uphold them, doesn't say this is what you should achieve. And at the same time, just imagine the amount of unpleasant feelings he may have had when he was having self-mortification. He doesn't hide them either. He openly talks about it and tells us there is no need for you to go to that extreme of self-mortification. There is no need for you to have so much of pleasant sensations as I have generated. you need just the middle part. The middle part is you accept you. And he's giving 4 stages in which you can accept you. First one is the body, which we have completed. Now we are talking about the sensation. So, in this manner, we should understand that the sensation or the feeling is a very important junction in our spiritual path. In attaining Nibbana, we are finding ways to achieve Nibbana, pathway to Nibbana. So this is the introductory talk on sensation. And in the next session, we will see how we can be mindful of the sensation. And hopefully I will have to take one more session to complete the sensation mindfulness section. So with that, I wish everyone will have the ability, will have the faith, will have the courage, will have the determination to observe sensations as sensation, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So with that, I would conclude my talk here. Teruvan Saranai, everybody. And I will have sip of water. And if anyone wants to contribute anything, ask any questions, make any suggestions, now is the time.
I have a question, Uncle.
Yes.
You know, when we do Satipasala, we always give definition of mindfulness. And then we give it 3 parts here now. Then we say I am is body, mind, and then interconnections. I never really questioned so much of the interconnections. Are they feelings or are they consciousness?
So you're asking whether this interconnection is feelings of feelings or consciousness?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is basically consciousness. Consciousness is the one which keeps binding all the stages of this dependent origination, but it is mentioned just in one place, right? And it keeps going because we are talking about something which is continuing, right? So we can't see where the ignorance starts, right? Ignorance is something that has been happening, and that happens in our consciousness, right? So therefore the interconnection is the consciousness basically. And to go to consciousness, we use sensation. It's another series of talk, which will come in the last section when we discuss Dhammanupassana or the mindfulness of the phenomena. Then this will come.
Thank you, Uncle.
Much more. Is there any other question from anybody else?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The classification of the worldly and the unworldly feelings, that's something that we are going to discuss next time, is it?
Yeah, I will see how it goes.
Right.
I will be discussing both these sections anyway. So I'm not quite sure whether I will be able to discuss both in the next section or in the next section, first one, and the other section, the other one. So it depends on how I will be able to organize it.
Yeah, okay. That's okay.
I'll be discussing both.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Thank you. All right. So if there are no other questions, then we will be able to conclude the session. To conclude the session, we have generated tremendous amount of positive energies. by practicing mindfulness and by listening to a talk on mindfulness and by discussing about mindfulness. And these positive energies can be shared with whoever who is willing and are able to receive them. For that, traditionally, we chant the stanzas. So we can chant the traditional stanzas starting with Tao Tacha.